The crash in the forest, the night was dark and restless. Clouds covered the moon, and the wind moved through the tall trees like whispers of secrets no one wanted to hear. In a small village at the edge of the forest, people stayed inside their wooden homes, hiding from the storm that was about to break. Only one boy was outside, wandering alone near the forest's edge. His name was Eli, a human orphan with no family and no home to return to. Eli often searched the forest for small pieces of firewood or berries he could sell for a single coin. His clothes were torn, his shoes had holes, and his stomach was empty. Yet in his eyes there was something bright, a quiet strength that no hunger could destroy. While others feared the forest at night, Eli felt safer among the trees than in the cold village where most people ignored him. As he bent down to pick up a dry branch, a strange sound cut through the silence. It was not thunder, though the sky was heavy with storm clouds. It was louder, sharper, like metal tearing through the air. Eli looked up. A streak of fire tore across the sky. At first he thought it was a falling star, but it grew bigger, brighter, and closer. The ground shook under his feet as the object screamed through the clouds, leaving behind trails of smoke. In the next moment, the fiery shape crashed into the forest with an explosion that sent birds screaming into the night. The sound was so powerful that windows in the village rattled and dogs howled in fear. Eli's heart raced. The villagers came running out of their houses, pointing at the smoke rising above the treetops. Someone shouted, "It's a demon falling from the heavens." Another cried, "The invaders are here!" Fear spread quickly. No one dared to go near. The elders warned, "Stay back, it is cursed." Mothers pulled their children close. Men locked their doors, but Eli could not look away. The smoke in the distance seemed to call him. His curiosity was stronger than his fear. He told himself it might be dangerous, but deep inside something whispered that someone, or something, needed help. Carrying only his small lantern, Eli stepped into the forest. Branches cracked under his feet, and the smell of smoke grew stronger with every step. The deeper he went, the louder the sound of burning metal filled the air. Shadows danced across the trees as the wreckage fire painted the night with orange light. At last he reached a clearing, where the ground had been torn apart. Trees lay broken like matchsticks, and in the center was a great twisted mass of glowing metal. Sparks flashed, wires hissed, and flames licked the edges of the wreck. Eli had never seen anything like it. This was no falling star. This was a ship from the stars. For a moment, Eli froze. His mind raced with stories the villagers often told. Stories of monsters, cruel beings from other worlds, and invaders who brought war. He thought of turning back, of running home like the others. But then he heard it, a weak sound. A groan. It was coming from inside the wreck. Eli's eyes widened. There was someone alive in there. Without thinking twice, he rushed forward. The heat of the burning metal stung his skin, and the smell of smoke made it hard to breathe. He pulled at the broken panels with all his strength, his hands scraping against sharp edges. At last, he managed to create a small opening. He held up his lantern and gasped. Inside, struggling to crawl free, was an alien elder. His skin shimmered faintly in the firelight, not like anything Eli had seen before, silver blue with faint glowing lines across his arms. His eyes, sharp yet fading, turned toward the boy. For a moment, their gazes met. The alien looked shocked, surprised that a small human would come so close instead of running away. The alien tried to move but collapsed, his body trembling. He whispered words in a strange language Eli did not understand. But Eli didn't need translation. The pain, the weakness, the desperation, it was all clear. Eli reached out, his hands shaking, and tried to pull the alien out. The wreck was hot. His palms burned, but he refused to let go. He wrapped his arms under the alien's shoulders and dragged with all the strength his thin body could give. Step by step, he pulled the alien out of the burning ship and onto the dirt. The elder coughed, glowing blood staining the ground, but he was alive. Eli collapsed beside him, breathing hard, sweat dripping down his face. For the first time in a long while, Eli did not feel empty or forgotten. He felt needed. From behind, he could already hear voices. The villagers had followed the smoke and were coming closer with torches in hand. Their shouts grew louder. Some were crying in fear, others in anger. "Stay away from it," one man shouted.
"Kill it before it kills us,"
another cried. Eli looked at the alien lying helpless beside him. He knew the villagers would not show mercy. They would strike first, ask questions later. And so the orphan boy stood, lantern in one hand, his small body trembling but unyielding. He placed himself between the alien elder and the angry voices approaching through the trees. The storm finally broke above, thunder rolling across the night. Rain poured down, hissing as it struck the burning wreck. Eli's shadow stretched long in the torchlight. For the first time in his life, he wasn't just a forgotten boy. He was standing in the path of fear, ready to protect a stranger from the stars. The forest, the village, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. What had fallen from the skies was not just a ship. It was the beginning of a destiny Eli never expected. The encounter with the alien. The rain fell harder, washing the smoke into the soil. The broken ship hissed as fire died under the storm, yet the light of torches pushed closer, and the voices of the villagers echoed through the trees. Eli's heart pounded. He looked at the alien elder lying on the ground. The strange being was breathing, but every breath was slow and weak. His body glowed faintly like fireflies under his skin, but that glow was dimming. Eli could see the elder's pain, even though no words were shared. The boy bent down and whispered, "Don't move. I'll protect you." He wasn't sure if the alien could understand, but the words came out anyway. The alien's silver blue eyes blinked at him, heavy with exhaustion. Then in a voice like cracked stone, the alien spoke one word, strange, broken, yet somehow clear. "Why?" Eli froze. Did he really hear that? Did this creature speak to him? The question wasn't shouted in anger. It was soft, almost a whisper, as if the alien could not understand why a small human boy would drag him out of the flames. Eli swallowed, looking back at the glowing wreck. "Because you're alive, and no one deserves to be left to die alone." The alien's eyes softened. For a brief moment there was no fear, no mistrust, only surprise. It was as though no one in his long life had ever answered so simply. But the moment was broken by shouts. The villagers were close now. Their leader, a tall man with a scar down his face, pointed his spear forward. "There it is. The demon from the stars," he cried. "Stand aside, boy." Eli's body trembled, but he planted his feet firmly in the mud. He spread his arms wide, shielding the alien. "He's hurt," he shouted. "He's not a demon." The villagers hesitated. Some muttered, "The boy is cursed." Others looked afraid, gripping their spears tighter. The scar-faced man growled, "Step away. You don't know what it is. It could kill us all." Behind Eli, the alien shifted, trying to lift his arm. His hand glowed faintly, and with what little strength he had, he raised a shield of energy that flickered around Eli's body. A faint blue dome shimmered, deflecting the rain. The villagers gasped, fear twisting their faces. "He's protecting me," Eli shouted. "Can't you see? If he wanted to harm us, he would have already done it." But fear is stronger than reason. The villagers roared in anger, and a few men advanced, their torches shaking. Eli's heart pounded harder. He knew he could not fight them. He had no weapon, no strength against grown men. Yet he refused to move. Then the alien whispered again. His voice was weak, but his words carried weight. "Danger. Leave. Safe." Eli shook his head. "I won't leave you. If they want to hurt you, they'll have to hurt me first." The alien's eyes widened. Something ancient flickered in them. An understanding, a memory of long-forgotten honor. He looked at this orphan human boy, thin and poor, yet willing to shield him from his own people. For the alien elder, who had lived among galaxies where power and wealth ruled, this act of simple kindness struck deeper than any weapon. The scar-faced man lifted his spear higher. "Last warning, boy." Lightning split the sky, striking a tree nearby. The thunder shook the ground, scattering the villagers for a moment. Eli used that chance. He grabbed the alien by the arm, pulling with all his might. "Come on," he whispered urgently. "We have to go." The alien tried to rise. His legs trembled and his body was heavy, but with Eli's stubborn effort he moved, step by step, half dragging, half carrying. Eli pulled him toward the deeper woods. The rain covered their tracks, the storm hiding their escape. The villagers shouted, but the storm swallowed their voices. Eli pushed forward, his lantern swinging wildly. At last, after what felt like hours, he stumbled into a broken barn on the far edge of the forest. The roof leaked, but it was shelter. Eli lowered the alien gently onto a bed of hay. His chest burned with exhaustion and his arms ached, but he didn't stop. He lit a small fire, boiling water in an old pot he had hidden there. He gathered herbs and wrapped the elder's wounds with strips of cloth. The alien's eyes followed him the whole time. Finally, when Eli sat back panting, the elder spoke again, slow, broken, but understandable. "You help When others fear. Eli nodded. Because I know what it's like to be left behind. Nobody helped me when I needed it. But I won't do that to you. The alien was silent for a long moment. Then with what little strength he had, he lifted his hand and placed it on Eli's shoulder. His touch was cold but gentle. His voice, though weak, carried a promise. Human, different, strong, not in body, but in heart. Eli's chest tightened. For the first time in years, someone, something, saw him not as a forgotten orphan, but as someone who mattered. Outside, the storm raged on, hiding their presence. But both Eli and the alien knew the danger was not gone. The villagers would not give up so easily. Others might come searching, yet in that small barn a fragile bond had begun. The boy who had nothing and the alien who had lost everything now shared one truth. Survival was only possible together. And though Eli did not yet know it, the alien he had saved was not just an old traveler. He was someone whose name carried power across the stars. But for now, all Eli cared about was keeping him alive. Hunted by fearful villagers. The barn smelled of wet hay and smoke. Rain tapped softly on the roof, dripping through small holes. Inside, Eli sat beside the alien elder, who rested weakly on the hay. His breathing was shallow but steady. The faint glow of his veins flickered like dying embers, and every so often, his body trembled. Eli had done everything he could with his little knowledge. He had boiled herbs into bitter tea, torn strips from his own shirt to bind the wounds, and kept the fire alive to drive away the damp. Yet deep inside he knew it was not enough. The elder needed more than an orphan's small hands could give. Still, when the alien opened his eyes and looked at him, Eli felt something shift. The elder's stare was no longer only pain. It was curiosity, even respect. He tried to speak, but the words came broken, tangled between languages. Eli leaned closer and the elder whispered, "Safe, with you." Eli nodded, though he wasn't sure it was true. Outside, the storm had started to calm, and he knew the quiet would not last. The villagers were not done. Fear made people dangerous, and fear of the unknown made them merciless. Just as he thought this, distant voices echoed through the trees, faint at first, then sharper. Torches flickered beyond the forest edge. Eli's heart leapt. They had come searching. He rushed to the door of the barn and peered through a gap in the wood. Shapes moved among the trees, at least a dozen men carrying torches and spears. Their leader, the scar-faced man from before, shouted into the night, "The demon is wounded. It cannot be far. Search every shadow, every hut, every tree." Eli's breath caught. He turned back to the alien who was too weak to stand. "They're coming," he whispered. "We need to hide, but where?" The barn had no cellar, no secret rooms, only broken crates and hay. Eli's eyes darted around until they landed on a loose plank in the floor. He dropped to his knees, prying it open. Beneath was a shallow hollow, barely enough space. He looked at the alien, who stared back with tired eyes. "You have to trust me," Eli said, voice trembling. With effort and a grunt, Eli helped lower the alien into the hollow. The elder's body barely fit, his glow dimmed to almost nothing. Eli covered him with hay, whispering, "Stay quiet, please." Then the boy sat near the fire, forcing himself to breathe slowly as though nothing was wrong. His hands shook, but he clenched them into fists. Moments later, the barn door burst open. The scar-faced man entered first, his torch blazing. Behind him, the other villagers spread out, their shadows stretching against the walls. The smell of wet earth and smoke filled the air. Eli looked up, trying to appear calm. "What do you want?" he asked, though his voice cracked. The man narrowed his eyes. "Where is it, boy? Don't lie to me." Eli shook his head. "I don't know what you're talking about." The man stepped closer, grabbing Eli by the collar and yanking him up. "Don't play games. We saw you drag it away from the wreck. You dare protect that thing?" Eli's feet barely touched the ground, but he didn't break. "I dragged nothing. The fire was too hot. I ran. If you saw me, you saw wrong." The man's grip tightened, his eyes cold. For a moment, Eli thought he might be struck down. But then from outside, another villager shouted, "Tracks! Fresh tracks!" The scar-faced man dropped Eli roughly to the ground and stormed outside, the others following. Torches bobbed as they fanned out into the trees again. Eli sat still for a long moment, heart racing so loudly he feared it would give him away. When at last the voices faded into the distance, he hurried to the floorboards and pulled them back. The alien's eyes blinked open. "Safe," he rasped. Eli nodded quickly. "For now." The elder studied him for a long moment, then spoke softly. Courage. Rare, you. Small but strong inside. Eli felt heat in his chest. Not from the fire, but from the alien's words. No one had ever said that to him before. In the village, he was just an orphan, a burden, someone to be ignored. But here, to this stranger from the stars, he was more. The alien reached out a trembling hand and pressed it against Eli's chest. A faint glow spread from his palm, sinking into the boy's skin. Eli gasped, feeling warmth course through him. Gentle, powerful, like sunlight breaking through clouds. What? What was that? He whispered. The alien's lips curved faintly. Gift, strength, to carry on. Eli didn't understand it fully, but he knew one thing. He could not give up now. Outside, the storm had ended. The night was calm, but danger was not gone. The villagers would return, and next time they might not be so easily fooled. Eli looked at the elder, then at the broken roof above. Somewhere out there, others might also be searching. Not just fearful villagers, but enemies from beyond the stars. He clenched his fists. I don't care who they are. I'll keep you safe. The alien's eyes softened again, and with a tired breath he whispered one word, one that Eli had not heard in years. Family. Eli froze. His throat tightened. For so long he had been alone without anyone to call his own, and now from a stranger who had fallen from the sky, he heard the word he longed for. The boy wiped his eyes quickly and nodded. Then family we are, but deep in his heart he knew this was only the beginning. The villagers were hunting them and the forest was no longer safe. If they wanted to survive, they would have to run further, into shadows, into secrets, and into a future neither could imagine. And though Eli did not yet know it, the alien elder's true identity would soon change not just his life, but the fate of everyone who had ever called him worthless. A journey to shelter. The night air was heavy with smoke and wet earth. Eli sat in the dim barn staring at the fire that flickered weakly in front of him. The alien elder lay on the hay, his breathing slower now but steady. The glow in his veins pulsed faintly like the rhythm of a fading star. For a short while there was silence. But silence never lasted long in the forest. Eli's ears caught distant sounds. Men's voices, dogs barking, the crack of branches under hurried steps. The villagers were still searching. The boy's stomach clenched with fear. They will come back, Eli whispered, glancing toward the door. If they find us here. They'll kill you! Maybe me too. The alien's eyes opened slowly. He studied Eli for a long moment before speaking, his voice rough but clear enough this time. We two must leave. Eli nodded, though he had no idea where to go. He was just a boy who had never left the village's edge. Yet something inside told him that staying meant certain death. Gathering what little courage he had, Eli helped the elder rise. The alien leaned heavily on him, each step a struggle. Despite his weakness, there was dignity in the way he moved, an unspoken pride that even pain could not erase. Lean on me, Eli said softly. We'll go together. Outside, the forest was thick with mist. The moon had returned, breaking through the storm clouds, casting silver light over the trees. Eli led the way, guiding the alien along hidden paths he had learned as a child. They moved slowly, avoiding open ground, listening for any sign of pursuit. At one point, a dog's bark echoed dangerously close. Torches flickered in the distance, voices muttering curses. Eli froze, pressing the alien against the trunk of a tree. They stayed still as shadows passed, the hunters too blind in their fear to notice the small boy hiding with a giant stranger. When the danger moved on, Eli let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His hands shook, but the alien placed a hand gently on his shoulder. Brave, the elder murmured. Fear, but still move. Eli gave a small smile. I've been afraid my whole life. I learned to keep walking anyway. The elder's eyes glowed faintly as if those words reminded him of something long buried. Hours passed. The forest grew darker, quieter. At last, they stumbled into a hidden grove Eli had found long ago, a place where he often escaped from the cruel words of villagers. At its center was a cave, small but deep, shielded by roots and stone. It was no palace, but it was shelter. This is it, Eli said, guiding the elder inside. It's not much, but no one will find us here. The alien lowered himself onto the cool stone floor, his breath ragged. The boy hurried to start a small fire with dry sticks he had hidden in the cave. Sparks flared, and soon the warmth filled the space. Eli sat beside the elder, watching the light dance across the alien's strange features. For the first time, Eli dared to ask, "Who are you?" The alien's gaze lifted to the fire. He hesitated, then spoke slowly, choosing each word with care. "Far away. I am called Varen, Keeper of Worlds." Eli tilted his head.
Keeper of Worlds?
"What does that mean?" Varen's eyes, glowing faintly, softened. "It means, I am more than what you see. I carried great weight, power, wealth, enemies. They hunted me, my ship. Not accident, attack." Eli's eyes widened. He thought of the burning wreck, the crash that had shaken the forest. "So, someone tried to kill you?" The alien nodded weakly. "Yes, because I hold what they want. Riches beyond stars. Secrets of creation. But none matter now, only life, only trust." Eli sat back, stunned. He had saved not just a stranger, but someone powerful, someone who could change entire worlds. Yet here he was, helpless, depending on a poor orphan with nothing to his name. "Why tell me this?" Eli asked quietly, Varen's gaze fixed on him. "Because you are different. You help without knowing, without asking. In my world, few would do this." Eli felt his throat tighten. He remembered the villagers' angry faces, their shouts to kill. He remembered nights spent alone, hungry and forgotten. And now, this alien, this billionaire from the stars, was looking at him with something close to respect. "Maybe I helped," Eli whispered, "because I know how it feels when no one helps you." Varen studied him a moment longer, then closed his eyes. His breathing slowed, but his words carried strength.
Eli, your heart.
"Stronger than wealth. One day, you will see." The boy sat in silence, watching over him, the fire crackling softly. But outside, danger still lingered. The villagers were not the only hunters. Somewhere beyond the stars, others knew of Varen's fall. And if they came searching, Eli's courage would be tested again, not just by men with torches, but by enemies far more ruthless. For now, though, in the small cave hidden by roots and shadows, the boy and the alien shared a fragile peace. Two lives that had been worlds apart now joined on a single path, and though Eli could not see the future, he felt something stir deep inside him. He was no longer just an orphan. He was a protector, a friend, maybe even family. The journey was only beginning, the alien's hidden power. The fire in the cave crackled softly, painting the walls with a warm orange glow. Eli sat close to it, rubbing his hands together to chase away the chill. Beside him, Varen, the alien elder, rested against the stone wall, his breathing steadier than before. The wounds were still deep, but the glow in his veins had grown a little brighter. For a moment, peace hung in the cave. Outside, the forest whispered with the sound of night creatures, and the distant voices of villagers faded into silence. But Eli knew it would not last. People feared what they did not understand. And beyond the fear of villagers, there was a darker truth: Varen's enemies from the stars. The boy turned to the elder. "You should sleep," he said softly. "I'll watch the fire." Varen's silver blue eyes blinked open. He gave a faint smile. "You guard me?" Eli nodded. "I owe you nothing, but I don't want to lose someone else." "Not again." The alien tilted his head, studying the boy's face. He could see the pain behind Eli's eyes, the loneliness of a child who had lost everything. In a voice filled with age and wisdom, Varen spoke. "You already carry weight, heavier than many grown men." Eli looked down at his hands. "I just want to do the right thing." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the crack of the fire. Then slowly, Varen raised his hand. His palm glowed faintly, the light spilling across the stone floor. Eli gasped as shapes formed in the air above the alien's hand. Glimmering lines of light weaving together, forming symbols, stars, and strange patterns. "What is that?" Eli whispered, eyes wide. Varen's voice was calm. "Knowledge, memory, power of my people." The glowing shapes shifted, becoming an image of great starships, their wings spreading like birds of fire. Towers of light rose from planets, and rivers of energy flowed like water across galaxies. Eli stared in wonder, as if the very universe was dancing in front of him. I've never seen anything like this," Eli said, his voice trembling with awe. The elder's eyes softened. "This is only a fragment. My ship carried more, secrets of energy, machines that could heal, tools that could build worlds. With them, empires rise. That is why I was hunted. Not for who I am, but for what I hold. Eli's mouth went dry. He thought of the villagers who feared even a single wounded alien. If they knew Veyron's true worth, their fear would turn into greed. They would not stop until they had torn everything apart. Then why show me this? Eli asked carefully. Veyron leaned closer, his voice low but firm. Because you are not like them. You saved me without knowing what I was. You saw no riches, no crown, only a broken old man. That is why I trust you. Eli's chest tightened. All his life he had been ignored, treated as if he had no value. Now this being, this alien of unimaginable power, was telling him he was worthy of trust. The boy shook his head. I don't know what to do with something like that. I'm just me. Veyron's lips curved into a faint smile. Sometimes the ones who think they are least are the ones who change everything. Before Eli could respond, a sudden hum filled the cave. The glowing shapes above Veyron's hand shifted violently, flickering with red sparks. Veyron's face grew tense. What's happening? Eli asked quickly. Veyron closed his eyes, his voice heavy. My ship's beacon, still alive, sending signals. They will come. Eli's blood ran cold. The villagers? The elder shook his head slowly. No, worse, hunters from the stars. The boy's mind raced. He had seen fear in the eyes of villagers, but this was different. Whoever was coming wasn't driven by fear. They would come for the power and they would kill to take it. Then we need to run, Eli said firmly. We can't stay here? Veyron looked at him, pride flickering in his tired eyes. You speak as protector. Ah, child, Eli swallowed hard. He didn't feel like a protector. He felt small, fragile, but he also felt something else, responsibility. Veyron reached into a band around his waist, pulling free a small, cracked device. He placed it in Eli's hands. The boy felt it hum, its surface warm and alive. What is this? Eli asked. The alien's voice grew faint but serious. Key to my ship. It responds to truth, not greed. With it, you can call what remains. Use it. If danger comes... Eli stared at the object, its glow reflecting in his wide eyes. He didn't understand how it worked, but he felt its weight. It wasn't just metal. It was trust. The alien's gaze softened. Protect it. Protect yourself. And, if I fall, you must carry it forward, Eli's heart pounded. The thought of losing Veyron cut deep. Don't say that. You're not going to fall. I'll keep you safe. The elder's smile was faint but full of meaning. Perhaps it is you who will keep the stars safe. Eli held the device close, his hands trembling. He had never been given anything of value in his entire life. Now he held something that could shape the galaxy. The cave fell silent again, but the boy's mind was loud with thoughts. Hunters were coming. Villagers were searching. And somewhere in the middle of it all, an orphan had been chosen by fate. For the first time, Eli wondered if he was no longer just saving an alien, but if he was part of something far greater than himself. The return of the hunters. The cave was quiet except for the crackling of the small fire. Eli sat close to it, clutching the strange device Veyron had given him. Its glow pulsed faintly as if it were alive. He had turned it over a dozen times trying to understand it, but it remained a mystery. Beside him, the alien elder breathed heavily, his eyes half closed. The glow in his veins flickered stronger than before, but Eli could see he was far from healed. Then a sound broke the silence, a low, steady hum that did not belong to the forest. Eli froze, his ears straining. The sound grew louder, a vibration in the air, unnatural and sharp. It reminded him of the crash, but this time it was controlled, precise. Veyron's eyes snapped open. He pushed himself upright, wincing in pain. They come, he whispered. Eli's stomach dropped. The villagers? The alien shook his head slowly, his expression grim. No hunters, from the stars. The hum grew into a roar. Outside the cave, beams of red light streaked across the treetops. The night sky glowed as ships descended through the clouds. Unlike Veyron's vessel, these were built for war, sleek, black, and sharp-edged like knives. Eli rushed to the cave's entrance, peering through the curtain of roots. His breath caught. 3 ships hovered above the forest, their engines growling like beasts. Figures dropped from them, landing heavily on the ground. Tall and armored, their bodies glowed with cruel red lines. Weapons shimmered in their hands. Veyron, Eli hissed. They're here. What do we do? The elder leaned against the cave wall, his strength faltering. You must run. Take the key, hide. Eli spun to face him, his voice trembling but firm. No, I won't leave you. The alien's eyes softened, but his voice was harsh. If they find me, they kill me. If they find you, they take the key. You must survive. Eli's throat tightened. He looked at the device glowing in his hands. It felt heavier than before, as if the weight of entire worlds pressed down on it. Could he really carry such a burden? Could a boy who had nothing protect something so powerful? Before he could answer, voices echoed outside the cave, deep, mechanical, filled with malice. One hunter growled, The signal is close. The old one bleeds, find him. End him. Eli's body trembled. He crouched low, hiding behind the rocks as the glow of red torches flickered against the cave wall. The hunters were close, too close. Suddenly, the device in his hands hummed louder, as if responding to the danger. Eli's eyes widened. He looked at Varen, who gave a faint nod. It knows you, the elder whispered. It listens only to truth. Eli swallowed hard. He didn't know how to use it, but he tightened his grip. The hunters entered the grove. Their armor clanked softly, eyes glowing like fire. One scanned the ground, its device beeping. Here, it snarled. Inside, Eli's chest tightened. He could hear their footsteps crunching closer. He pressed himself against the rock, heart hammering. Varen's weak hand reached out, resting on the boy's arm. Courage, the alien whispered. You are more than you believe. The hunters ripped away the curtain of roots, their red light flooding the cave. Eli blinked against the glare, clutching the device. There, one growled, pointing at Varen. The old one still lives. The tallest hunter stepped forward, his weapon glowing. Finish him. Take the key. Eli's body moved before his mind could stop it. He leapt in front of Varen, spreading his arms wide, just as he had done against the villagers. No, he shouted. His voice cracked, but it echoed in the cave. You'll have to go through me first. The hunters paused, their glowing eyes narrowing. One laughed cruelly. A child, brave, but foolish. The device in Eli's hands pulsed brighter, reacting to his defiance. The hum grew louder, filling the cave with vibration. Suddenly a beam of blue light shot out, striking the ground between Eli and the hunters. Sparks exploded, forcing them back. Eli gasped. He hadn't pressed anything. It had answered his will. Varen's eyes gleamed with pride even through his pain. It knows your heart. It sees truth. The hunters growled in frustration, raising their weapons. But before they could fire, the device flared again, projecting a shimmering shield around Eli and Varen. Blasts struck the barrier, lighting up the cave with sparks, but the shield held strong. Eli gritted his teeth, holding the device tighter. His arms shook, but his voice rose above the noise. Leave us alone! The shield expanded suddenly, a wave of blue light knocking the hunters back out of the cave. They crashed into the trees, growling in anger. Silence followed, broken only by Eli's heavy breathing. His hands trembled as the device dimmed again, returning to its faint glow. Varen looked at him with awe. You've awakened it. Few ever could. Eli sank to his knees, his body trembling. He had never felt so alive, so terrified, so powerful. I didn't know I could. The elder's voice was low but steady. You are chosen, Eli, not by me. By truth itself. Outside, the hunters regrouped, their voices sharp with fury. The boy has the key, one snarled. Take him alive. Kill the old one. Eli's stomach twisted, but he stood again, clutching the device to his chest. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like just an orphan. He felt like someone who mattered. The hunters would not stop. The villagers would not understand. The galaxy's dangers were closing in. But Eli knew one thing: he would fight. Not because he was strong, not because he was chosen, but because he refused to abandon someone who needed him. The battle for survival had only just begun. The revelation and reward. The forest grove burned with red light as the hunters regrouped. Their ships hovered above the trees, engines growling like thunder. Inside the cave, Eli stood with the glowing device clutched to his chest, his small body trembling but unyielding. Beside him, Varen, the alien elder, leaned against the wall, pale but watching with sharp eyes. They will not stop, Varen said, his voice low but steady. To them, I am not a life. I am only what I carry. Eli swallowed hard, forcing back his fear. Then let them come. I won't let them take you. The elder's gaze softened. In that moment, Varen did not see an orphan boy but a guardian standing against the impossible. The hunters returned, stomping through the trees. their weapons glowing. One pointed at the cave. The boy has the key. Kill the old one. Bring the child alive. Eli's chest burned with anger. They saw him as weak, as prey. But he was done being ignored, done being powerless. He raised the device high. Its glow surged brighter, filling the cave with blue light. Stay back, he shouted. The hunters laughed cruelly. You are nothing human. Nothing but dust in the galaxy. But before they could strike, the device flared, sending a beam of energy into the sky. It pierced the clouds and the night roared with thunder. From deep within the wreck of Veyron's ship, hidden far in the forest, a response came. A pulse of light. The ground shook. Machines buried in the wreckage awoke. Eli gasped as a shield of shimmering blue spread across the grove, forcing the hunters back. Their weapons sparked uselessly against it. Above, the wreckage stirred, pieces rising into the air, pulled together by unseen hands. The broken ship, though scarred, began to reform, glowing with ancient power. The hunters growled in rage. The ship answers the child. How? Veyron's lips curved faintly, pride glinting in his eyes. Because truth chose him. The hunters tried to push forward, but the shield's energy burned hotter, striking them with arcs of light. One by one, they stumbled back, their ships roaring louder in frustration. Then, with a burst of red flame, they withdrew, vanishing into the clouds. Their voices echoed as they fled. This is not over, human. We will return. The forest fell quiet again, only the hum of the glowing ship above them breaking the silence. Eli lowered the device, his hands trembling, his legs weak. The shield dimmed. Slowly, the boy sank to his knees, exhausted. I didn't mean to. I didn't know it could do that. Veyron pushed himself forward, kneeling beside him. His hand rested gently on Eli's shoulder. You did what even kings could not. You stood when others would run. That is why it answered. Eli looked up, his eyes wide. But I'm no one. Just an orphan. I have nothing. The elder's gaze was steady, filled with ancient weight. And yet you gave everything. When I fell, you saved me, not for reward, not for power, but because you could not bear to leave me alone. That is worth more than all the riches in the stars. Eli's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say. Veyron reached into the folds of his torn robe and pulled out a small emblem, round, etched with glowing lines. He pressed it into Eli's palm. Do you know who I am, boy? Eli shook his head slowly. The alien's voice grew deep, carrying the weight of truth. I am Veyron, keeper of the great trade routes, master of fleets, builder of worlds. To many I am called a billionaire, though wealth means little to me now. But today I'm only alive because of you. Eli's eyes widened. He stared at the emblem in his palm, glowing like fire. It was heavy, not just in weight but in meaning. Veyron continued. With this I name you my heir, my family. What I have, what I am, it will be yours. Not because you asked, but because you proved worthy when no one else would. The boy's heart raced. He thought of nights spent hungry, of days spent ignored by the villagers. He thought of being no one, invisible. And now in this cave, an alien elder, the richest, most powerful being he had ever met, was calling him family. Tears filled his eyes. But why me? The elder smiled, his face soft despite his pain. Because Eli, you are more human than most humans I have known. You are what they call rare. You are the proof that kindness can shape destiny. The boy clutched the emblem to his chest, his heart pounding. For the first time in his life, he felt like he mattered. Not because of wealth, not because of power, but because someone had seen his true worth. Veyron leaned back, closing his eyes, but his voice was firm. One day the hunters will return. They will come for what I carry, but you will not face them alone. My ships, my people, they will answer to you now, and when you stand, you will not stand as an orphan, but as the child of the stars. Eli sat in silence, staring at the glowing emblem. The night air was cool and the firelight danced across his face. He was no longer just a forgotten boy in a cruel village. He was something new, something stronger, a protector, a family, a future. And as the first light of dawn broke over the trees, Eli knew one thing. His story had only just begun.